What are some decent paying jobs that don't require any sort of college degree? Bartender. When I was 21, I applied for a job at a bar and restaurant as a busser. I never worked in the hospitality business. The owner said they didn't need any more bussers, just bartenders. I told her I had no experience bartending, thanked her, and was about to leave when she said, "I'll hire you as a bartender. I can teach anyone how to make drinks. I can't teach people how to talk correctly. I don't want my servers being bartenders. Do you want the job?" A week of training and a month of getting the hang of things, and I was making enough money to pay bills in a couple of shifts, build up a large savings, and have more to spend than I needed. It didn't require a college education. It required basic intelligence and a personality that fits the role. Wow, I guess he's the luckiest bartender in history getting hired that way, huh? Story 2. If you're getting into anything blue collar, you need your own business, or the pay isn't that great. The exception is brutally difficult and or dangerous work. Yeah, underwater welders make good money, but if you make a single mistake, you pass away. Diesel mechanics make good money, but it destroys your body. There are a handful of guys that get to do cool stuff like work on big building ACs and make good money. There's not a lot of those jobs to go around. I'd say go into public service, pay starts slow but builds up over time. That said, there's an active campaign against public service, so... Story 3. My son just got on at the cheese factory my husband and I used to work at when we met. We maxed out at $25 back in 2004-06. He will max out at $32, time and a half for voluntary overtime, double time if you're drafted, forced for overtime, and an extra $2.50 if you work night shift. I was there for 2 years. My husband was there for 15 years. It's an amazing job. You babysit machines all day and are on break half the time. Unless something needs changed or goes wrong, it's easy money. When my husband was ready to leave, his employee-owned stock he'd been getting matched at 10%, paid him out, and we paid off our house and vehicle and didn't touch the 401k. My husband was able to take 3 years off to help care for his sickly dad. My dad, 2 uncles, a cousin, me, quit due to chronic illness. My baby brother did their accounting, and my little sister is doing forklift work in the cooler. My dad's been there 28 years. He has 7 weeks of vacation a year. You have 3 weeks when you start, and more keeps getting added. We live in a low cost of living place, so it adds up quick. The hope is, since my son is 19 and he lives at home, he only has to pay his very practical car loan he's paying off early and his car insurance. He should be able to save up a good nest egg until he's ready to fly the nest or whatever he wants to do. That's what my husband was able to do until we were married and started our own home. He stayed at home until we married, so he saved a ton. It's pretty easy. They make every kind and form of cheese you can think of that isn't Kraft or Sargento. Every fast food place you can name, this company makes it. Look into food factories. They are temperature controlled, pest-free, high pay, and guaranteed work because people gotta eat. Story 4. For someone with no degree, driving a truck OTR over the road can make a lot of money, but it's not as easy as it sounds. For one thing, you live in your truck with a total living area the size of, if you're lucky and have a decent truck, a large bathroom. You go home for maybe 4 days every 8 to 12 weeks if you want. You work around 70 hours a week, currently the maximum allowed by the federal government. You deal with people who think everyone driving a truck is an uneducated idiot, which, in their favor, is mostly true. Following on from the last point, other drivers are some of the most disgusting, racist, ignorant waste of human beings I have ever had the displeasure of encountering. Every truck stop has Fox News on, every TV, 24 hours a day. It's impossible to make any kind of friend or connection with other drivers, not just because they're probably a fascist enabling piece of dog crap, but even if they aren't, you'll never see them again after you leave the truck stop Denny's where they talk to you uninvited. But yeah, I made $110,000 take home my first year and didn't have to pay for my license training. So you can definitely make money if you're willing to deal with all that crap. After you've driven a few years, assuming no major incidents, you become eligible for more sane driving jobs that can get you home every week or every day, that pay more, pay hourly, including overtime, etc. After 2 years, the cost to insure drivers drops enough that regular outfits are willing to take them on. Story 5. Booking bathroom renovations. I work in customer service with a bit of sales, and it's considered a professional, decent job in my town. Recently, I found out about someone who uses the exact same skill set that I do but makes 3 times as much, about $150,000 a year, no degree required. You know what his job is? He books bathroom renovations, not selling them, just booking them. In my area, about 4,000 people a year renovate their bathrooms. He only needs to book around 104 in a year to hit $150K. Funny how my guidance counselor never mentioned reception at a bathroom renovation company as a possible high-paying career path. Story 6. So I have a college degree, but my boss does not, and he does not specifically look for people with degrees in our work. His criteria falls more along the lines of willingness to learn. We've got a good mix of people with different experiences, and we all work great together, building each other up and passing down skills. I work in electrical construction design. The lower levels make $17 to $22 an hour. The next level makes around $30 an hour. We hired most of our people as assistants. Look for assistant positions with the possibility for growth. Definitely look into companies that are growing quickly. The people I work with happen to find the job at the right time. When I started 5 years ago, we had maybe 10 people. Now we have 60. Story 7. Honestly, there are a lot of solid options if you don't want to go to the college route. Skilled trades like electrician, plumber, or HVAC tech pay really well and are always in demand. Truck driving is another one. Get your CDL and you're set. Real estate can also be pretty lucrative once you get licensed. If you're more into tech, IT support or cybersecurity can be broken into with certs instead of a degree. And sales is always there. Insurance, B2B, business to business, etc., where your income really depends on your hustle. Basically, the key is swapping a degree for either certifications, apprenticeships, or just sheer grind. Plenty of people are making more money in these fields than folks with a bachelor's. Story 5. Private concierge for rich folk. A chap I met said he got into it by accident when he was on holiday and gave some local tips to some other tourists while also telling them what to avoid in terms of hotel services due to backhanders they were getting. These folks asked if he could help organize things and get stuff, and he jokingly said sure, but for a large cost, which they agreed to without even thinking about it. They called him again at some other point, and so did their friends, so it blossomed from there. He simply never said no as long as the client would pay. The whole job is about networking, and he always thought he wasn't good with people apart from chatting crap and small talk. Story 9. If you move into management, retail isn't a terrible job. At Target, in California at least, assistant store managers can make over $100,000, not off the street or anything, but tenured ones can. Even as a regular supervisor, I was making $70,000 before I quit. But this is going to vary heavily depending on your area. Target in Wyoming does not pay what Target pays in California, and I'm not informed enough to tell you how the different salaries compare with the cost of living. Starbucks management is also supposed to be okay money. Again, you'd have to work your way up to it, and obviously your salary will vary based on your location. Some low-level government jobs are relatively stable and well-paid, like the post office and stuff. The trick in general, in my opinion, is to find a job where, if you're good at your job, you could get your boss's job later on, even without a degree, and then just keep doing that. There aren't going to be a lot of jobs that hire people right off the street and pay super well with no experience or qualifications needed. Sorry, but if there were, everyone would apply for them. Your best bet is either to start low and move up, or jump ship to move up, or to get some kind of education, whether that's certifications or degrees. Story 10. Locksmith, knife grinder, landscaper. My family member started a landscaping business around his neighborhood, grew it to a decent-sized crew, and expanded to other towns. Now his main clients are condo associations, apartment complexes, office buildings, and schools and colleges. He added snow removal for the winter for parking lots and got contracted by the county to do residential streets. Now he has a bunch of trucks doing that. Then he added pool maintenance for the summer for condo apartment complexes and residential clients and hired some pool experts. Then he opened up a nursery to supply the landscaping business. A few of the wives work there. About 7 years ago, he added a bricklayer/concrete team to do driveways. He's very wealthy at this point and has been in business for about 22 years. His landscaping now includes water features and all kinds of beautiful work. His gallery is fabulous. He went from one mower, blower, and a truck to a fleet with employees who have been with him for decades. Story 11. Electrician is peak trade work. The thing with trade work is that you have to put in the time. It's just your life for 5 to 7 years. Otherwise, factory jobs often pay extremely well and provide great benefits. I'm pretty sure the parent companies are aware of how much it costs to live comfortably in the area and pay to do that. I do maintenance in the Southeast. Starts at $30 an hour at my factory. You get raises at different points of tenure, usually like a $1 per year raise, all positions for 4 to 5 years, plus another yearly raise for inflation and property increase. I also talked to the forklift service techs to compare rates, and the lead said he was at $45 an hour. He works like 60 hours a week, though. He's been trying to bring me on, but I'm not super interested in that amount of hours again. I'm kind of lazy as far as trade workers go. 40 to 50 hours and benefits are perfect for me. Story 12. Digital artist. I've been working for over 30 years with no degree, 100% self-taught, and currently make about $180,000 a year. My first 20 years were in game development, topped out at around $250,000 a year, working on a highly successful game franchise. And I've been working in digital marketing, utilizing all the same tech since, from the comfort of my cushy home office. You don't even need a trade school, just have talent, learn on your own, and work hard at being better than the competition. You too can become a college dropout like me, living comfortably in your $1,000,000 home. My wife, who is a teacher, hates this fact whenever she's trying to convince our teenage kids of the importance of college, and then they just point at me. The best she can retort is, well, stop playing video games all the time, start making them then. She has multiple master's degrees and barely makes half of what I make and is still paying off her student loan debt. Story 13. My wife managed a fairly big gas station and liquor store that was on a drive-through town on the only highway north. She worked at an airline as a CSA, customer service agent, for a year and applied for a job at a big international airport. The management experience got her a management job for the airline, which led to a job for the airport authority. I will mention she has a diploma for travel and tourism, but that was pretty useless. She has a great resume and interviews well. She will find out the questions they ask prior and build very good answers. She is incredibly personable, which probably factors in as well. The airport authority where I live pays very well due to a great union. This isn't anything I would ever know about if it wasn't for her. Essentially, go find an organization and charm your way to the top. I have 2 degrees, but a fight the man attitude that has prevented me from this kind of mobility. LOL. Story 14. You want a decent paying job without a degree? Welcome then to the secret society of we didn't buy the $60,000 piece of paper and still pay our bills. Plenty of doors are still open, they just don't come with the student loan debt hangover. Trades are the obvious heavy hitters here. Electricians, plumbers, welders, mechanics. These folks keep the world from collapsing every time your toilet backs up, your car goes out, or the lights go out. Pay can start modest but ramps up quick, and if you're good, you'll make more than a bunch of folks sitting in cubicles with their framed diplomas. Bonus, nobody ever calls an English major at 3 a.m. because the boiler exploded. Then you've got things like truck driving, sales, real estate, or running your own hustle. Decent pay, some even great. The downside, you actually have to work. The upside, you won't need to hear some professor drone on about postmodern symbolism and contemporary media while racking up debt. So yeah, if you don't want to do college, that's not the end. It just means you skip 4 years of ramen noodles and philosophy lectures and go straight into making money. And at the end of the day, people don't really care what degree you've got. They care if you can fix the damn problem. Story 15. Traveling wind turbine technician pays well, and you work 60-plus hour weeks, so tons of OT overtime. I started in 2011, making $21 an hour and switched careers in 2016. I was making $34 an hour when I left. The lifestyle of a person who travels full-time wears on you. Being away from home 4 to 8 weeks at a time can be brutal. There's plenty of subcontractors that will hire anyone physically able to do the job and can pass a substance test. Learn everything you can and make some connections. That's where I would recommend starting. Then look for jobs with the big manufacturers, Vesta, Siemens, GE, etc. Story 16. If you live in Canada, I would look into NAV Canada. I'm a flight service specialist, 7 years into the company, and I make about $120,000 for 37.5 hours a week. A flight service specialist is basically an air traffic controller at a smaller airport. And if you become an air traffic controller, you can make double or even triple what I make depending on your specialty and time in the company. No university is required for either job. NAV Canada does extensive testing during the hiring process and then does all the training in-house. I would highly recommend the company, and both jobs are union. Story 17. Appraiser, self-employed, part-time, 2 days a week, $50,000 in a city, or $65,000 a year full-time, pretty much anywhere starting up to $150K. Adjuster, same as above. Roofer, same as above, but it's very much a sales gig. Underwriter, much more full-time and similar numbers, but working for companies you can make upwards of 7 figures if you're the best and doing big enough deals. This has massive upward mobility. Pest control tech, same as the first answer. HVAC, same. Buyer, same. Think auctions, the people that buy stuff for the companies that want the stuff at auctions. Stonemason, same, but only up to $90-ish. Very easy to get an entry-level job, though, making $25. Mates have done all of these for a spell. Story 18. I taught an introduction to construction class for NCCER, which is a government-backed organization trying to get younger people into trades. Electrician, carpenter, plumbing, boilermaker. Construction companies are having a hard time filling a lot of roles, and they pay a lot of money. If you get in early in the trades, you may pay a little upfront for training or get training on the job, but you won't have college loans. Watching your money early and investing, you can easily make 6 figures in the first few years and then retire in your late 40s with toys in the garage and even a nice weekend getaway spot. The trick is, don't spend it all at once and become very good at your job. Story 19. You want to earn $400,000 a year? Are you a little bit of an adrenaline craze? Get thee to your closest IBEW, International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Union Hall, and tell them you want to train to be a lineman or linewoman. It is 2025, you know. The usual workday electrical lineman earns $100,000 pretty quick, and they're the ones in the bucket trucks replacing your neighborhood transformer after a storm blew it. The mega money is in transmission lines. Those are those big honkers you often see along interstates that literally connect city to city or bring power from Virginia to New Mexico. Those guys, especially the helicopter-based ones, yes, helicopter-based, make around $400,000 last I looked. Also, they've been getting into flame-throwing drones to help clear vegetation off lines where needed, but I don't know how you get to be the drone guy. Story 30. Graphic design, coding, mentorship is extremely valuable, so get into the nerd hacking hackathon groups online. Long-haul trucking, but you do need your CDL, and that schooling can be expensive. If you're an early riser, pun intended, pastry chefs and all of the trades, pipe fitters, welders, machinists, electricians, plumbers, HVAC engineers. Landscaping, running your own company, so you will need seed money for machinery and a truck, but you can run a beat-up Ranger that will run forever. And you will have to develop your own client base, but if you start by advertising low-fee, short-term contracts to like HOAs or small subdivisions for flat-fee mowing and trimming, you may find lucrative work during growing season. I don't know what AG zone you live in, so that may not be full-time, year-round work for you, unless you can switch it up in winter and put a plow on the front of your car, and then plow driveways and road salt sidewalks for those same clients. I live in Zone 9, so we are pretty much in need of mowing and trimming all year. Story 21. If you can get an apprenticeship into the carpenters, electricians, plumbers, or welders unions, you are mother trucking set, especially if you are in a major city and get a job at a company that primarily does commercial jobs instead of residential. Back in 2006, when I left, I started here with a Los Angeles-based union general contractor with absolutely no experience. I'd never even used a drill gun or sawzall before. I started at $12 an hour with full benefits, pension, and PTO. Then, every 6 months, you get a $2 to $3 raise. By the end of 3 years of apprenticeship, I was up $31 an hour with full pension, benefits, and 2 weeks paid vacation per year. I was easily making just over $100,000 with overtime after 3 years, and I wasn't even a full carpenter yet. That was a salary 19 years ago. If you can get in with a general contractor that primarily does commercial office remodels instead of full-on construction from foundation up, you can even spend most days in air conditioning. Story 22. The United States Postal Service maintenance, around $58,000 to start, plus 11 federal holidays that can be paid, so another $2,500 or so, or extra vacation time. Call it $60,000 to start. Promote one level, you're at $75,000 or so. Not rich as heck money, but the work is chill and sometimes interesting. You can theoretically be mandated to work overtime, but it seems to be quite rare post-lockdown. I am super jealous of some people I started with who are in their early 20s. They'll max out the pay scale before their mid-30s, and the USPS matches our 401k, TSP, up to 5%, so they're actually going to have a decent retirement nest egg as blue-collar workers. Story 23. Enlist in the U.S. military, USAF, the U.S. Air Force, or USSF, U.S. Space Force if you can. Right off the bat, your pay is good and your benefits are insane. If you qualify and get a job with TS, top secret clearance, you're set for 4 to 6 years to get out and make 6 figures. If not, you still have plenty of options. Basic training is not hard. It sucks, but it's not hard. Not the USAF, USSF anyway. Yes, you have to be able to deal with military BS, and some people can't qualify or morally won't want to join, and that's valid. But if we are talking straight out of high school, poverty, no money, and no real prospects, it's the easy button. I did 20 and I'm contracting overseas making screw you money plus my retirement plus crazy medical, and I never once used my degrees, BA and MS, that the Air Force paid for. My spouse and I have paid zero cost in healthcare while in, and TRICARE retired is cheap. Like, I'm sure I'll get flamed or told how it's terrible or people shouldn't have to join the military to get healthcare in college, and I agree with that. But that's unfortunately not reality, and you do get free healthcare and college and training and crazy family benefits and a whole bunch of other hidden life hacks. One random one, no annual fees on credit cards. Sounds minor until you realize how much free stuff you get with an Amex Plat example and don't pay the $900 fee. Anyway, something to consider. It was absolutely the right choice for me. Several people I grew up with look at what I did and say, damn, wish I'd done what you did. And if you're enjoying the video so far, don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button for more videos just like this. Story 24. Teach yourself a specific software that piques your interest that has a ton of free training online. Also, look at statistics of who and who uses your target software. If you can find a forum or a live IRC, internet relay chat group, that always helps. Target for happiness and become an expert. It doesn't happen overnight and it takes time, but you have to draw out your path, become fast, create examples, and as long as you enjoy it, then things will start falling into place. I did this when I was 24, out of the military. I really wanted to learn 3D animation, go to trade shows, communicate. I couldn't afford to buy the software, but I was able to sweet talk one of the sales members into giving me a 3-month license. I learned the crap out of it. Then I got a loan for a school to a college, which is what the software was based around. Since I already knew the software pretty well, I was teaching the teachers and left with a 4.2 GPA. Landed my dream job, created a company, and I just retired last week. Upon applying for a specific job, just don't send out a resume and that's it. You literally need to get on the phone with any company you want to work for and confirm you want to work for them and that they received your resume. Everyone is using this AI BS these days, and all it does is create a digital vacuum of ones and zeros. Be elegant in your approach with any HR, but contact them directly after 3 business days if you haven't heard back. Some footnotes: I dedicated hard, 12 to 14 hours a day, but I freaking loved it. School to me was like a competition. In analogy, it was like a COD match to me. One of the most truly important exercises I have ever done was write down exactly what I want to do and then list every single step that you need to do for each step. Make sure those steps are not too large so it doesn't intimidate you. I ended up getting one of my teachers a job at ILM and another at Digital Domain, if you know what those are. I have now retired at 49. I was told that with my trade, no one can get rich. They can all suck it along with my multiple seven figures, and I don't have to work for anyone ever again. So never let anyone make you think you can't do something. I ended by selling said company, made a hefty chunk of change, rolled it into the stock market, and have played inverse chess with tariff BS and made a ton of change. I know my path may not be like most others, but this has been my life for a quarter of a century. It worked out, but I worked my butt off for it. I also did all of this while working out an hour and a half a day. The only downfall I have on my side is I never could settle down with someone while doing all of this. On the other hand, I just got a cool cat, which is my first. I work so many hours I could never have a pet because I would never neglect a little critter I love without being there for them. Now it's catch-up time for me on that. Story 25. Yeah, garbage collection is solid. A buddy of mine does it and makes way more than you think, plus the benefits are actually insane. Same with plumbing and electrical work. Those guys can clear six figures once they get their own business going. Also trades like HVAC, everyone needs AC fix, and those techs charge whatever they want basically. Know a guy who learned welding through YouTube and community college courses now makes bank doing underwater welding, but that's a bit more specialized, I guess. The real money isn't stuff nobody wants to do. Septic work, pest control, crime scene cleanup, nasty work, but someone's got to do it and they pay accordingly. Story 26. On-site infrastructure maintenance. It can be physical or digital work. It can be for a public agency or a private business. But in almost all cases, it requires people to actually be at a specific place to do it, and it is critical to maintain public health or safety. Examples: garbage collection and processing, sewer and sewage treatment system maintenance and repair, building maintenance and repair, electrical system maintenance and repair. Also, most of these jobs are unionized, which is not only good for ensuring you have things like a retirement plan, health insurance, and sick pay, but also frequently means you can get paid to join a training program and earn as you learn. As an example, my father was bouncing around between construction jobs in the late 80s and early 90s after the housing market collapsed. He met a guy while doing construction work on a new set of restrooms at a summer Bible camp that needed professional plumbing beyond outhouses to expand the number of guests they could host. That guy was volunteering his expertise in sewer and septic maintenance at the camp as a manager of a sewage treatment plant, and invited my dad to work for the sewage branch of a public agency along the California coast. There, he was involved in an on-site training class hosted by SEIU, Service Employees International Union, where he could learn the ins and outs of his job as well as get the licenses and certifications necessary to advance in his career. And that career expanded over the course of more than 30 years, which eventually saw my dad retiring during the pandemic with 6 figures of annual pension income, a house in the San Francisco Bay Area, and invitations to travel around the world to offer advice to other sewage treatment operations. He doesn't like flying, so he's generally declined them. It's not going to be as lucrative as a high-paying private sector job, but public service jobs in critical infrastructure can be a huge turnaround and give you the skills to excel in a job market that will never go away as long as people still need basic services. Story 27. Depends on where you live. I live in Australia and I drive forklifts and my hourly rate is $40 an hour. But I think you just have to find what makes you get out of bed for. Sometimes it's the timing of the job application and how well you present yourself in the job interview. When I was young, I didn't care if I got $23 an hour, but as I got older and had kids, I needed to make more money, as a lot of people do. I applied for my forklift license. They pretty much gave it to me. It wasn't difficult to pass, and then I landed a job for $30 an hour. Now, the job I have pays $40 an hour. I still wish I was on more, but this is just getting me by for now. Unfortunately, if I applied myself better at school, I would have been in a better situation and position, but I'm happy regardless. I've got 2 kids and a lovely wife, and I'm making ends meet at the moment. Never ever say there's no jobs because people like that don't get far. Keep trying and apply yourself. It will make you go far. Don't ever leave a job if you don't like it. Just stay until you find yourself a new job. These are some things I wish I would have told my younger self. Hope you have a good life, mate. Story 28. This is why people join the military. $0 in healthcare, subsidized to $0 housing, free food, lots of other little allowances depending on what you do. Score well on the ASVAB, Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery, and you can get a technical rate with advanced promotion and extended training you get paid for. Then you either get out and get that degree and have a host of useful trades like a security clearance, or you stay putting up with the BS until you are 40-something and retire for one of the last real pensions in existence while you go out and become a 6-figure contractor working on the same damn equipment. Just don't have kids or buy a charger from the guys outside boot camp. Story 29. Hotel booking agent. Sure, it's a sales job, but people call you rather than the other way around. Most people who call in are expecting you to sell them something because that's what they called for. It can be a bit frustrating at times when people forget that you're human too, but the base pay is pretty good even without the sales incentive. Especially nowadays where it's easy to get a phone job where you can work from home, and if you find the right company, you can even hang up on the Karens who try to screw around and find out. It's so satisfying. Story 30. I'm sure it doesn't apply to all companies, but I've done the paperwork side of construction for 2 years now. It's fine work and decent pay. Basically, the salesperson sells this thing, then I order it, schedule delivery, and make and schedule services if they are needed. My particular department jumps between all of these a lot, while the other two do things a little differently. I love it. It keeps me on my toes. Sometimes the workload feels a little bit much in the busy season. All the rain my area had this summer pushed a lot of things back for construction. But it is a job you do not need to take home. Plenty of my coworkers at both jobs haven't had anything more than high school diplomas. A BA or BS does bump you up the list a little in terms of things, but like it does anywhere else. But if you interview well, you can get the job. Actually, collectively, I'm closer to 4 years, but some people at this company have been here 25 years. My last company wasn't as great, but you luck out sometimes. Story 31. Boilermakers Union. If you're willing to travel and do a more physically demanding job, then getting in with the Boilermakers is an option. You do need certain qualifications like an OSHA certificate, but those aren't things that take years or even months to get. You get on the job apprenticeship training, and there's even something called welding boot camp that's like 4 months of training they can put you through. The hardest part is getting in, so it is better to have someone who can put your name up, but it's not impossible. Story 32. The thing about any high-paying job is that it pays a lot either because no one can do it or no one wants to do it. In the case of the former, you will have to develop some kind of skill set, which is rare. That doesn't require college, but it usually requires time and probably talent. There are a few that you can just get by being smart, paying attention, and putting forth some effort. I'm thinking crane operator. You don't need a degree, and you can get there pretty quick if you start in construction and show that you're responsible enough to handle heavy equipment without ending someone. Downside, you will probably end someone anyway. I've heard too many stories about other workers or supervisors being stupid, but it's still hard when it's your hand on the lever, when the load falls and someone passes away. For jobs that no one wants to do, it could just be that it's lonely and time-consuming like commercial truck drivers, although you also have to not be an idiot long enough to get a CDL. Often, it means brutal, hard-working, crappy conditions, and almost always it means doing something that is going to destroy your body. Good welders get paid a lot, but by 60, you'll be half blind and have skin cancer or lung cancer or both. Or you do something like underwater welding, which is super dangerous, and you very well may not live to 60 at all. Story 33. Any skilled trade you can employ yourself doing, there is a high level of risk, as most trades deal in areas of expensive mistakes. But when you can work for yourself, you get the big rewards with the risks, not just the headache of getting something accomplished as fast as possible so your boss makes the most profit. I'm a prototype machinist. I work contingent for a company. It's my quote-unquote main job. I work when they get new jobs they need made and also build their fixtures and tooling setups for future large-scale production runs of said parts. I also do one-off parts that are in development stages for testing. But I've also gotten into 3D printing. Much of what I've learned in manufacturing through my 20-year career translates over. That's where I make more money though. I actually make parts for the company I work for, and it pays better than going to their shop. The capital investment to get going was significant, but all 4 of my printers have paid for themselves, and I'm now looking into a Tormash mill for my garage to also be able to do machining at home. It has been a long struggle finding the balance between the two and also having a family, but the years of grinding in a machine shop are finally paying off, and my wife and I plan on me stepping completely out of anything but our at-home stuff. Wow, that was a lot. I don't know. Maybe some of you just saying pest control is the way to go. All right. Story 34. There are actually some solid finance/wealth jobs that don't legally require a college degree. Stockbroker, registered rep, you don't need a degree. You just need to pass FINRA exams, Series 7, Series 63, 65, 66, and then get sponsored by a brokerage. Some firms prefer grads, but it's not required by law. Financial advisor and planner. Again, no college degree is mandatory. You need to pass licensing exams like the Series 65. Certifications like CFP help, but they're not degrees. Portfolio manager, licensed. If you want to manage money professionally for clients, the SEC cares that you're registered and licensed, not that you have a diploma. All of these can pay very well once you've built skill, a client base, or a track record. The barrier is usually exams and reputation, not a 4-year degree. Story 35. I own a pool maintenance business down here in Florida. I have around 80 pools, work 6 hours a day on average, and make around $85,000 after expenses. Summers can be a bit rough, but if it gets too hot, you've got a pool right there. Obviously, make sure the owner is cool with it, LOL. The only downside is the constant calls from people freaking out when there's a leaf in the pool, but if you're picky with customers, that ain't a huge problem, or you can just charge them extra. Half my customers don't even live down here, and these are just their vacation homes, so I just never hear from them ever unless there's a billing problem. It's pretty chill, and setting my own hours is the best. Story 36. Any of the blue collar trades, if you're handy, patient enough to master your trade, and smart enough to run a business, there's a huge need for tradesmen right now. One of the richest guys I know is a roofer and started his own roofing company. Real estate investing, landlord, or fix and flip type stuff. You'll start small as a realtor, save your money. You'll need to be smart and willing to take some pretty big risks. Also, good credit is a must and being handy, so you don't have to contract out everything. It helps. Pilots can easily make $300,000 to $400,000 a year as a captain at one of the big career type airlines once you get there. But the training is more expensive than college, and being gone all the time is tough on families. UPS drivers, if you're in the US, make good money and have a solid union contract. A lot of these jobs aren't easy, are tough to get hired into, and they take a lot of time and commitment to get to the highest levels of pay. There are no shortcuts in life unless you're born into a wealthy family. Story 37. I know an electrician who started his own business. It got huge and he sold it off to someone for millions so he could retire in his 40s. I know mechanics who make six figures, not to mention ones who open their own garage and do even better. I know flooring guys who own their own businesses and own Porsches and Maseratis. I got a handyman buddy who got into buying rundown homes, fixing them up, and flipping them for profits into six figures. Garbage men who retire with full pensions in their 40s and 50s. Medical imaging techs, okay, that's a 2-year university diploma, not unlike the trades, who make more than doctors and nurses. The list goes on and on. The more people I meet and talk to without university degrees, the more I realize the way to go was probably to get down to working as soon as possible. Story 38. Not easy work, but the oil industry pays quite well. My son worked as a roughneck, rig pig as he calls it in Alberta. It's hard manual labor, but doesn't require a college degree or diploma. He originally did his pre-apprenticeship training to become a heavy-duty diesel mechanic, but struggled to find decent, consistent work. With that bit of mechanical knowledge and initiative to take some prerequisite safety courses like industrial first aid and H2S Alive at his expense, he started working on oil well maintenance and decommissioning across Alberta. He struggled a bit to get his foot in the door and also put up with the old hands testing his resolve, but he was earning over $200,000 Canadian per year. He was recruited from Alberta to work the rigs in Odessa, Texas, just this past spring, and now is on track to earn well over $200,000 USD annually. It's definitely not for everyone. He currently flies in and out of Alberta on a 20 on, 10 off rotation, doing 12-hour shifts with all lodging, transport, and food provided. It takes a lot of discipline to have enough sense to keep your nose clean and save your earnings. It's all too easy to blow it all away, especially earning that kind of money at such a young age. He just turned 24. He does have both Canadian and US citizenship, which definitely helped land the job in Texas, but wasn't needed when he started in Alberta. Story 39. The stuff that no one else wants to do, usually. I'm a roofer. I started in exterior remodeling, making pretty decent money because there was a big shortage of labor, leaving me with leverage to increase my labor prices until I was only working for guys that would pay it while still being busy enough to do it full time. I moved to roofing for the same reason, eventually got into roofing and construction sales. In sales, I make great money because everyone sees roofing salesmen driving around in trucks that cost more than a house with lots of expensive toys. They get into thinking they will do the same, only to find out it's absolutely brutal and a free sample of the poverty experience for the first couple of years. 90% of people give up on it within the first 6 months. The ones that stick to it and do it, well, make stupid money. The right college degree is basically trading money and a few years of schooling to start in an industry above entry level. Without a degree, you can get into good money, but it's probably going to take a couple of years of grinding, doing the crap that no one else wants to do. Story 40. Software Q&A, quality assurance. I've done this for a little over a decade. I make $40 an hour, $79,000 a year. I have no college degree or certifications. I'm not even a team lead or manager. If you get lucky enough, you can work from home. I only had a general understanding of computers and started doing general IT support, resetting passwords and restarting services kind of thing for a few years and switched to Q&A. In my area, including the largest university in the state, I get paid more than people with master's degree a lot of the time. I get paid to tell people that I broke their crap. It gets fixed if the project lead decides if it gets fixed. Please be nice to Q&A. We can only do so much with a small team, maybe a dozen people. We can't find everything before launch nowadays. Thousands of users will probably find something that we miss. Story 41. CDL driver here. Went to driving school and it took me 3 months to get my license. Went straight into driving concrete trucks. Started off in the mid-60s, thousands, but now make over $80,000 a year with no degree. It's scary in the beginning, but after the first few months, it gets easier and easier. You're home every night and you're not just driving straight down a highway. You're on construction sites and have to learn how to pour, which I find fun. I find it fulfilling because every day we're building homes, schools, churches, bridges, firehouses, etc. I'm listening to podcasts, audiobooks, and music all day. Some days the hours are long and it's not for everyone, but I actually love my job. Story 42. I think you may be asking the wrong question. You should be asking which decent paying jobs don't require experience, and the only ones I can think of are gender based. The truth is that experience opens doors, but if you get started as a lower level employee getting crap pay but showing an interest and taking classes so you can have certifications, you may be able to move up laterally into a better job in the company without a degree. That's what I'd recommend. It will suck to not have that job right away, but you'll be on an easier path than chasing after degrees that we have seen in recent years not be as valuable as we were taught. Story 43. Air traffic control requires 3 years of full-time employment if you don't have a college degree, but unless you're at a small facility, you'll make over $100,000, quite possibly over $200,000, before overtime pay and things like nights and holidays. And you don't need any aviation knowledge when you apply. The FAA will teach you everything you need to know. Do expect to work overtime though. Staffing is not great at most facilities at the moment. In general, it's considered a high-stress job, but if you like genuinely fast-paced environments and decision-making, or are an A-type personality, the work will appeal to you. And if any of these stories got to you too, here's more for you. YouTube thinks we're going to love this. I'll catch you in that video.